Welcome to the Football Garbage Time NFL Podcast. I'm Wong, and I'm the editor-in-chief of Football Garbage Time. And with me are my co-hosts, the OG co-host, Ryan Whitfield, and the godfather of Football Garbage Time, Scott King. How you doing, guys?
Doing great.
Doing good.
All right. That's so much enthusiasm, guys. I mean, I was like sitting here like doing my little intro as if I was in Las Vegas announcing a fight, and you guys are like, yeah, it's cool. That's fine. It's just
It's always hard when there's three of us to know when to jump in when you throw it to both of us at the same time. So
I know. Well, okay. It was my fault. I didn't do really good directing there. I should have actually asked you one at a time. So I'll take the blame on that one, but I will not take the blame on what we say in the rest of this podcast because we got a lot to talk about. We're going to be talking about the top 5 power rankings after week 3 going into week 4. We're going to talk about our bottom 5 power rankings. We actually haven't done that in a while, and that's shifted up quite a bit. So I'd love to hear what you guys say about that. And then we're going to talk about our breakout quarterback, running back, wide receiver, and tight end for week 4. That is not in one of our top 5 power ranking teams. So one of the lower ranked teams. Who are those guys who are going to break out due to the matchups this week? Let's go ahead and get this thing rolling. All right, let me go ahead and start with you, Scott. We're going to talk about our top 5 power rankings. Why don't you give us your power rankings 1 to 5 first, and then we'll go ahead and see where all the differences are.
Yeah, I think the top of the list is going to be pretty similar, and then it'll get interesting from there. But we've got the Buffalo Bills at number 1. Josh Allen, obviously doing a great job. I really like where the Bills are at this year coming into the season. I've got the Eagles at 2, Super Bowl champs. They're doing okay. Some struggles offensively, but they're still top of the league. I've got the Packers at 3, which as much as I hate to say it,
holy cow!
Even with the loss to Cleveland, I think I'm still have a hangover from that week 1 beat down that they gave Detroit, but I still think that's a really solid roster. At 4, I'm going to go with the Chargers. I think what they're doing out there is interesting. We'll see how they do traveling east against the Giants, rookie quarterback, maybe a trap game this weekend. We'll see how they do. And then full homer, I snuck Detroit into 5. I was completely shocked. I did not pick them to win. I was hoping they were just going to keep it close Monday. And from my side, I think that's probably the most complete game I've ever seen Detroit play on the road. So I snuck them in there at 5.
Okay, you might be underselling your Lions. I'm just going to a little bit of preview there where I'm coming from. But Ryan, what do you got as your top 5 power rankings going into week 4?
Well, as I always say on this, I'm not picking who's going to be the best by the end of the year. I'm just going on where we're at right now. So my list, I think, is going to be a little controversial. But I got all 5 undefeated in there. But I got Bills 1, Eagles 2, Chargers 3, Niners 4, and Bucks 5.
Wow, Niners, interesting. And then the Bucks you have there at 5. So I actually agree with that. I actually like the Bucks. I actually have at number 1 the Bills. Then I have 2 the Eagles. We all agree on number 1 and 2 there. No problem there. Number 3, I have your Lions at number 3 there, Scott. And I have the Buccaneers at 4. And I have the Chargers at 5. So I have some elements of both of your lists, but I'm also missing some of them. There's a big question mark here. Ryan, I'm going to ask you first. 49ers sneaking in at number 4. Why is that?
Again, just, slave to the data. And although I guess you could say that, the Colts are 3-0, so there are other teams in there that are undefeated that could make that leap. And, I just, again, long-term, no. Do I believe in them with the injuries they have? There was a report today that Brandon Ayuk is a long ways away. Nick Bosa is done for the year. Obviously, the quarterback stuff, all that. But at the end of the day, they keep winning. And when you win back-to-back games with Mac Jones at the helm, it's pretty good. It's a pretty good team if they're doing what they're doing with him as QB1 right now. So again, this is not a projection. When I approach the power rankings, I'm just looking at through 3 games to this point, whose teams are the best 5 in my opinion with what they put out there, and I'm giving the nod to San Fran right now because as a team, there's a lot. Their number 1 receivers hurt. Their starting quarterbacks hurt. Nick Bosa's hurt again. They have every reason to be 1 and 2 right now. They're 3-0. Right. So I think that says something about the makeup and depth on that team.
Okay, that's that. I mean, that makes a whole lot of sense to me, and it's interesting because it's more for me a question of where do I put the rest of these guys, because you obviously don't have the Lions in there, which is the one team that I have in and that Scott has in that didn't make it onto your list. Why do you have the Lions behind the 49ers? Just because they're 2-1 and inconsistent?
Yeah, and well, not really so much inconsistent, but more just like again, we also factor in how they got there, right? So, as much as, and we'll get to it, I'll give you crap at some point here, but the Packers, which I think predictably losing that game,
Predictably. Okay,
losing that
I
game
love
last
it.
weekend. The Packers are a team that I think I elevated up to number 2 or number 3 last time we did this, and I was very confident and high on them after the way they dismantled Detroit in that opening season matchup. But now I feel a little bit differently that they can go and lose a game 13-10 to the Browns. So we start looking at quality of loss and quality of opponent. Like I've knocked Green Bay down in my rankings because of the performance last weekend. So then that also has to there's a domino effect there. So
I see.
Again, now if we're still projecting, like, no, I don't have in the long run this year, the 49ers finishing better than the Detroit Lions. I don't. But again, snapshot week 3 power rankings today with what we've seen. That's where my list is.
Okay. All right. Well, that's fair. Well, I'm going to flip it over to you now, Scott, and ask you about the Packers, because you're the only one who have the Packers still in that top 5. And if you go back and look at it, Packers were moving up my rankings into my top 5. They moved into, I know they moved really far up Ryan's rankings. We've all talked about the Packers being great, but they really slipped this week. I mean, any team that can be that inconsistent and lose to the Browns, it's a little bit questionable to me. So why do you think they still have it at 3? You think it's just a fluke that what we saw on in week 3?
Yeah, I mean, winning on the road in the NFL is difficult, right? So we look last week, the Falcons got shut out in Carolina against a team they should have beat. You get these teams that just, especially early in the season, you're going to get losses. So winning on the road is hard. The Browns defense, can play. And so, we'll see how it is. I'm not ready to move them out. We'll see how they do after this week. 2 weeks is one's a fluke, two's a trend kind of thing. And so we'll see how they do this week. But I think, they're really strong. I watched every snap of that Lions game. They have a lot of talent. They looked really good. Parsons is still making his way into the mix. So as much as I hate it, they're still there. And I got to keep them ahead of Detroit because they punched Detroit in the mouth and they didn't respond. So
Wow.
I feel better about the Lions season after Monday, but I got to give Green Bay credit until I see more. And this will be an interesting test because they're back on the road this week against a team that can put up a bunch of points. So we're going to see Sunday night how they do, and this will determine where I move them next week.
Okay, that's fair. And I see that the Chargers made it into each of our lists, being 3-0 right now. Ryan at 3, Scott, you have them at 4. I have them at 5. Essentially, I think we're all kind of thinking the same thing, but give me your thoughts, Scott, on that. Why did the Chargers make it up into your top 5?
Yeah, I think, they opened up the season with the win. They've been doing well. We're whatever we are, 3 years into the Harbaugh regime now with Herbert. I think, they've got talent. We're going to find out in 2 hours, how they do tonight. And, I'm just interested to see how that goes. And, or no, I'm sorry, they're not
I
tonight's
think
game.
Thursday night we got the Cardinals and
Sunday. That's right.
and Seahawks. Unless you got a time machine in 2 hours, in which case,
I was mixing
sign me up, man.
But yeah,
let's make some bets.
Sure. But I think they've got talent. Quinn Johnston's finally figuring out how to catch the ball a couple years in. So they got Keenan Allen back in the building, bringing some leadership. So I think it's interesting to see where they are. But like I said, they're going to the Giants. That's what I was thinking. They've got to travel east, play a rookie quarterback. Is this a trap game or do they show up? So again, we'll see the next game kind of what they show us.
I don't know if you guys remember this, but I had a massive man crush on Quentin Johnston for when he was drafted, and then I looked like I had egg in my face for quite some time. So I'm glad he's finally making good on some of the quality I thought we were going to
Yeah.
see out of him. Actually, interestingly, the rookie Marion Hampton has been very underwhelming until Najee Harris got injured and is now out essentially for the season. Is this good for the Chargers, you think, Scott, that Najee Harris is injured?
Well, the reason he popped is because I traded him away.
Okay,
So
right. That's fair.
I was holding on to him, and I was like, "Screw this! I need to do something." And as soon as I traded him, he popped. So,
right.
you know, from a fantasy standpoint, we're always real. We want to have clarity in the backfield. That's always a thing, right? So you hate to say it, but when somebody goes down, when you got a split backfield, the other player, responds. And I've lived this with Detroit for several years now. When Gibbs or Montgomery goes off, you lock in the other guy because he's going to go crazy. And there was a lot of struggles there, and Hampton was just not getting it done. And he's coming on. So from a fantasy standpoint, I think it absolutely is good. You bring complete clarity. From an on the field standpoint, you want to have two guys that can touch the ball, because you're going to burn up this rookie. Like he can't do 14 more games, like this. Yeah. So real football, it's surprising to me. Fantasy football,
right. But you were like the president of the Marion Hampton fan club before week 1. So I'm kind of surprised that you traded him so quickly. It only 2 weeks, man.
It was a panic. But it was a panic. I was drowning. I had to do something. I traded away 2 guys that just popped. So yeah, short me on trades all the time. Like I'm
all right.
Horrible.
Good advice. Good advice on that one. Ryan, Buccaneers made it to number 5. They're on my list as well as number 4. Scott doesn't think as highly of them as we do. I think they're doing great things. The Evans injury can be an issue. Defense is a little bit questionable to me. I mean, they did let the Jets follow, with Tyrod Taylor at the helm, basically keep them on the ropes until really late. So do you have any questions here about the Buccaneers, or you think they're pretty much in the running here for a possible playoff run in the future?
Yeah, I mean, I have a plethora of questions when it comes to the Buccaneers. But, I mean, you mentioned the defense letting them back in that game. I mean, yeah, and they held them to 20. We got to remember that, they were a field goal block in return for a touchdown away from that being a 9-point win going away. I do think they got it, and they were up big before that. So I think they, human nature got up big, let them back in, and then a fluke. Depending how you want to look at it, I'll call it a fluke. A fluke play turns into 7 the other way, and they still had the resolve to go down and score a touchdown. Now, I'm a Baker fan. I really like the second part of his career where he's, found maturity mixed with clutch play and stuff. But I mean, he's not a gifted top 5 quarterback type player, in my opinion. He's got a guy's going to grit it out and work it out. And I think that kind of describes this Bucs team. I think we all thought that post Tom Brady they would go in the tank, and they've stayed relevant. They've continued to fight. They made it to the playoffs there, and so yeah. I mean, again, do I think they're ultimately a top 5 team in the NFL? No. Do I think they're a playoff team this year? Absolutely do, especially in that division. And so actually, let me take that back. I would put everyone's life savings on the fact that the Bucs are in the playoffs, given that they're in the NFL. So,
wow. Okay. But, let's go.
Yeah. So, I think, again, I think they're gritty. I think they fight. I think they're a tough team. And right now, again, their record says 3-0. So that's who they are.
Yeah, I agree with that. All right, let's flip it over to the other side now and talk about the bottom half here. Let's talk about the bottom 5 power rankings, starting from 28 and ending on the worst team, in your opinion, at 32. Scott, why don't we start with you?
Yep. So I'm going to go Miami Dolphins, New York Jets, Tennessee Titans, New York Giants, and then at the bottom of the barrel is the New Orleans Saints. So
all right. I think there's going to be some similarities here for sure. All right, Ryan, what do you got? Starting at 28, landing on 32.
Yeah, well, the way you want me to order this, we're gonna hit my we're going to hit my, what am I trying to say? My most surprising, or my hot take one for fun first. But I have at the 28 spot, the Cowboys.
Okay.
And then I
All right.
have the Giants, Dolphins, Titans, and Saints. So I thought I'd mix it up a little bit on this one. So yeah, that's my 5 in order.
Yeah, no. So I think we have a lot of similarities in our list here. I think that the Titans seem to be unique to Scott. Obviously, the Cowboys unique there to Ryan, and I have the Raiders kind of floating around there at 28. I think we all agree the Saints are a complete dumpster fire right now, and there's probably no redeemable value in New Orleans, unfortunately for them. Even Chris Olave looks like a disaster right now. He's catching lots of targets, but averaging less than a few yards per catch, which is pretty bad. So obviously Spencer Rattler, not the answer out there. Let's talk about the ones that are different. Let's talk about this hot take you got here, Ryan, the Cowboys at 28. I actually thought about this. Because I saw the Cowboys basically eke out a win against the Giants of all teams in overtime. So that it doesn't make me feel great. It was all Brandon Aubrey's leg that won that game. Well, what about you to break the Cowboys though at 28?
I agreed with the trade at the time. So I'm not going to belabor or now play, gotcha journalism on the back end, but you inarguably traded away your best defensive player before the season. Your best offensive player just got hurt. You are third worst in the NFL, averaging 397 yards allowed per week. They've given up 11 touchdowns. I have always thought that Diggs was an overrated corner who is a complete gambler and liability out there. That has proven so. They got 2, Javonte Williams has been fine, and actually fine, better than fine. He's been actually pretty good at running back. But at the end of the day, you got Javonte Williams and Miles Sanders because you went and took 2 flyers on kind of more journeyman running backs. I know it's just Williams' second team, but that's a guy who never really panned out in Denver as high as I was on him.
Right, with injuries probably, but yeah.
George Pickens hasn't been great, and he certainly looked even worse to me after CD went out of that game. I don't think he's a true number 1 guy and a bit of a head case. And you have a quarterback who's coming back from injury. You have a first-year unproven head coach. Again, take out the CD Lamb thing. Think about everything I just said about Dallas, and now talk about losing your best player. So they already were one of the worst teams, if not a bottom 3 team in the NFL. I think bottom 5 is being generous. And the team I left out that probably would turn some heads would be the Jets. And I'm no Jets defender, but they've lost 2 one-score games. And they're I think 22nd in yards per game given up defensively, and so they've scored some points. They battled back in that game we just talked about against the Bucs, who a 1-score game against a team I just called the top 5 team. 1-score game against Pittsburgh, so they've been competitive. I don't think the Cowboys have been overly competitive, and they can't stop anybody. I mean, your Bears lit them up. And that is the best I've seen Caleb Williams look. That was embarrassing on Sunday for the Cowboys. So
and it was Eberflus who was coaching the defense. It was former Bears head coach Eberflus coaching the Cowboys defense in that game. So even doubly embarrassing for him in that situation.
I haven't looked at the cap hit, but I think the Cowboys are so bad that we'll be talking about in 2 or 3 months if this is Dak Prescott's final year in a Cowboys uniform.
Wow, well, that'd be something.
They might have to turn the page. Now we'll see how that shakes out because this is supposed to be a quarterback class where 5 guys could go out in the first round again, like 5 legit guys. But if anyone who's been watching Clemson knows that Cade might be falling out of first round contention with the way him and that offense are performing right now. But again, provided they're in a top 5 position and they got a shot at a marquee, guy again, all the quarterbacks at college level have some question marks, Arch Manning's mechanics. There's a lot going on there. But point being is they might be positioned to go get the next guy and go for a complete retool because I think they're
that would be an out and out disaster for the Dallas Cowboys who just paid like a year ago, Dak Prescott, $240 million for a 4-year deal. So that would hurt unless they could trade away whatever's left in that deal, which is probably going to be a little bit challenging. Scott, let me ask you about one of your picks. That's the Titans. You get the Titans there, number 30. Didn't make my list, but I thought about it. I definitely thought about it. Why did they make that low list there at number 30?
Yeah, they're just, going into the season for me, it's just, what are they? Like, what do they have, right? Like, they've got their rookie quarterback. They're going to give him a shot. But this is just a team and an organization where they just don't have anything. I don't see the talent, the pieces or the parts. It's frustrating being a fan of one of these teams. I've been it for a long time in Detroit, where you just watch them. The Saints are that now too as well. there's just nothing there. Like, what do you build around? They've either got aging players or guys that just aren't performing. And, we'll see how Cam Ward pans out. I wasn't real big on him coming out. But I just don't think they have enough parts there to do anything with. And they're in this no man's land of going to float around and win 3 or 4 wins and then be right back at the top of the draft. And they just need stuff all over the place.
Right. And I know, Ryan, you're not impressed with Cam Ward either. I think Elik Ayomanaur, the wide receiver, looks like he might have something to him. But you're right. The rest of that team is looking like a little bit of a dumpster fire, getting into more of a dumpster fire. So, yeah, there could be some issues. I had the Raiders there, and partially it's just recency bias. I mean, they've not been good, and they just let Marcus Mariota put up 41 points against them. That seems bad to me. So the Raiders sneak in there at 28 for me. I know they didn't make either of your lists. Let's move on, though, to our last topic, and that is the breakout quarterback, running back, wide receiver, and tight end for week 4. That is not in any of the teams in your top 5 power rankings. So one of those lower ranked teams, one of those skill players. Are they going to break out? Who are they going to be in week 4? Ryan, I'm going to start with you. Give us your quarterback, your running back, wide receiver, and tight end that you think is going to take off this week that wasn't in one of your top 5 power ranking teams.
Well, now you're just going to make me look like a massive homer, which I don't totally appreciate. But sorry, I was pulling something up as you said that, though.
Okay.
Are we doing? You want all 4 of them right now, or do you just want the quarterback to start?
Well, let's start with quarterback. Let's do quarterback first.
Okay, fine. Well, you don't have to yell at me. No, I got Drake May.
Okay.
As a breakout. I know Carolina's defense had a nice week last week. I'm not a big Panthers fan. I think that was more about the Falcons than it was Carolina.
Right.
In both the pick'em leagues I'm in, including ours, I was one of the few people that got that game right. I think I put my write up on the site last week that
did.
That
First time for
Carolina
anything.
wasn't going to go 0-17. It's a bad Falcons team, a divisional game on the road. That felt right for the picking, and they did it. So I'm not going to overreact to the Panthers winning that game.
Okay.
Drake May's 8th in the NFL in EPA right now. He has a good, not great offensive line. He's got running backs who can't stop fumbling the ball. His best weapon is Hunter Henry, who I feel like has been playing for over a decade. I'm not going to go look it up, but he's a lot of miles on that. His second best weapon is a receiver who's coming back from ACL at 31. Like, it's not like he's surrounded by an enriched group that can help him perform again. And when you look at all the advanced metrics outside of the turnovers, which are still a problem and he's got to fix, he's actually having a top 10 NFL season or quarterback season right now. So as much as the Patriots are kind of the same as they've been the last couple of years, unfortunately, and again, I think the thing that's still missing with Drake is, can he be a winning player at winning time? Can he stop the stupid turnovers? That fumble on Sunday, for anyone who saw it, was inexcusable. Just simply trying to do too much at the NFL level. So still some stuff to clean up in his game. But in terms of like a year 2 breakout, for those of us who are watching it week in, week out, it's, again, take out the turnovers, and he's probably a top 5 quarterback right now. Now, we can't take out the turnovers, so he's a top 10 guy. So I think this week against Carolina at home, I think, again, they only put up 14 points last week, but that's because of the turnover. You turn over the ball 5 times, you're not going to score more than that.
Right.
So again, I think he has another big week this week. I wouldn't be surprised if he puts up 300 yards in the air and another 50 on the ground.
Wow. Okay. Big numbers for Drake May in week 4. All right, Scott, who do you have as your quarterback breakout in week 4?
Yeah, so mine's a big name, but they weren't in any of our top 5s. It's Lamar Jackson, right?
Okay.
So at home, Monday Night Football, national TV stage, and they got embarrassed at home. He had some turnovers. He had some missed 4th downs.
Mm-hmm.
And I think they're going to come out. They've got this primetime game against Kansas City. It's going to be a big showdown, probably some points. Both teams are actually struggling. Both quarterbacks aren't, probably living up to where they want to be. So I think Lamar comes out, tries to make a point, and I think we're in for an exciting game with them, which I think
it's shocking to say that both the Ravens and the Chiefs are 1-3, 1-2 right now. That's actually really so shocking to say that. But more shocking is that my Bears are also 1-2. So hey, listen, we're in great company in some ways. You got that. I never thought you'd have to say those three teams in the same sentence for any reason. I am going to go back to the well and pick on the Packers again. I know that Ryan's going to give it to me between the eyes because I picked the Packers as my survival pick last week and got eliminated. The only one of us to get eliminated in our thing of urban sports scene. So yeah, that's my bad. I didn't think the Packers would have any problems taking care of the Browns. But that was obviously a miss by me. But I'm going back to Jordan Love because he's facing the Cowboys this weekend, folks. And the Cowboys made Russell Wilson look like a Hall of Famer from 10 years ago. 450 passing yards. And then, as you mentioned, Ryan, they made Caleb Williams look amazing. I mean, he passed for a career high 4 touchdowns there. I mean, the Packers, as we just said, lost inexplicably, I'd say, to the Browns. So they'll be taking out the frustrations on those undermanned Cowboys and the undermanned Cowboys defense. I mean, if they're going to let both the Giants and the Bears run all over them on defense, I think that Jordan Love is going to have a field day there. So I think he's going to have a big day. And if I can have an honorable mention, I'll also mention Caleb Williams, the Bears facing the Raiders. Like I said, the Raiders let Marcus Mariota put up 41 points against them. Imagine what the Bears' Caleb Williams can do. So Jordan Love would be my pick as a breakout quarterback. Let's go ahead and swing back around to you, Ryan. Let's talk about running back position here. What running back do you have as a breakout in week 4 that's not in your top 5 power ranking?
Yeah, so quickly, I'll just say too, you both kind of touched on it, but even worse than the fact that they're both 1-2. I mean, either the Ravens or the Chiefs are going to be 1-3 after this week, and that the road to the playoffs from 1-3 is very difficult. So it's pretty staggering that's what we're facing this weekend. So I will throw out a caveat. I didn't read your description before, so I had to change my pick at the last second. So I'm not super confident in my running back pick because I had Omari and Hampton, but I had the Chargers in my top 5 . So
I love that play, by the way, though. I think Omari and Hampton's going to pop this week. So if I didn't have the caveat, I agree.
Yeah, like Scott said, we don't root for injuries, but the Austin Eckler gives us clarity on who's going to run the ball there, and he performed in the second half of the game the other day. So, but no, I went Jaylen Warren, both from a receiving standpoint and running the ball standpoint. He's been a productive guy this year. So, again, I all my pre-show notes were on Omarion, so that's what you got, Jaylen Warren, and don't fucking at me.
Okay, that sounds cool. That's fine. Jaylen Warren is awesome. I think that's a really deep pick there. So I love it. If he pops, you're going to be able to loud that over us for the entire year. All right, Scott, who you got as your running back that you think is going to pop this week in week 4 that's not in your top 5 power rankings?
Yeah, so I'm sure you've been able to figure out I was really excited about the Monday night game, so I'm going to keep going back to that one. So for me, it's Derrick Henry, same as Lamar. Henry put the ball on the ground. Hutch had the perfect punch out. Like I was in a hotel on vacation and screaming, probably waking up half the place. But he put the ball on the ground. He got embarrassed. He kind of got benched there at the end. I think Hill was in for that last drive. I didn't see Henry put his helmet back on. And so I think he's going to have something to prove. A pissed off 250-pound Derrick Henry is not a good thing. And again, they're facing the Chiefs team, and I think he's going to beat them up, and this team's going to respond. And I think it's going to be a really, really interesting game to see how they do. But the Ravens have got to get it together here real quick, like you said. Somebody's missing the playoffs. I think the Ravens probably win their division because it sucks. But the Chiefs are in big trouble.
Yeah, definitely. Derrick Henry, that's a really interesting. I would have never thought they'd be outside of my power ranking when we started the season. So it's always amazing to see them slip two fumbles by him now, and very impactful in those games that they lost. So it's going to be interesting to see how he responds to that coming up. I do agree. Week 4, big opportunity for him against the Chiefs. I got somebody that I like that popped last week, and I think is going to do it again. It's Jordan Mason of the Minnesota Vikings. They faced the Steelers this week. Now, keep in mind that with Aaron Jones going on IR, Mason got his first start in week 3. He did not disappoint. 116 rush yards, 2 touchdowns against the Bengals. We know that the Bengals defense is a dumpster fire, but you know who else gives up a lot of points to running backs? That's the Steelers. 6th most rush yards allowed per game at 139.3. 4th most rushing touchdowns allowed. And, it's just that Mason's on a roll, and they really are kind of relying on that run game in Minnesota much more than I thought they would. So I think Jordan Mason against the Steelers is going to pop this week. I think it's just going to be one of those things where he just ends up keep rolling. And when Aaron Jones comes back, he might not have a job, or he might be just warming the bench behind Jordan Mason. So we'll see how that pops up, but I think that's going to be a big play this week in week 4. Let's go to wide receiver. Ryan, give us your wide receiver that you think is going to pop this week that's not on your top 5 power rankings.
Yeah, so I'm all over the map because I tried to do deep cuts, and as I already admitted on the running backs, I forgot one. So I'm going to break the rules here because my guy's a deep cut. Even though he's not one of my top 5 power teams, I don't care.
Okay. All right. That's fair. Let's hear it.
I'm going to give more love to the Bucks. Give me Sterling Shepard.
I like it. I like it.
Continued revitalized role with all the injuries in Tampa Bay right now, averaging almost 14 yards per reception this season. 11 catches on 15 targets. I expect those targets to go up this week with the situation going on around him in Tampa. So
Matt Evans injury, Godwin probably
guy on a top 5 team. So
yeah, I love
someone's
that.
Sterling
Shepard's a great one. He was actually one of my pickups for fantasy football at the beginning of the week that I kind of wrote about, and I think he's a great play this week. Absolutely great play. What do you think here, Scott? Who do you got as your wide receiver who's going to jump? Who you can follow the rules, I hope, that is not on one of your top 5 power ranking teams.
This is too close to my workday.
I might be stealing your homer pick here, but I'm going to go Rome Odunze.
Oh yeah, I love that.
Yeah, I think against the Raiders, we talked about the Raiders. He's been performing well. Caleb's doing well. Ben Johnson, you're welcome for that head coach there. He can drop some plays. I think the Bears are in good shape. I think you've got talent at the skill positions, and it's definitely arrow up for the Bears, which I hate to say. But I am happy for Bears fans because it's been a rough go. But yeah, I think Rome Odunze, he's got the talent. Ben Johnson figures out ways to get the balls to the playmakers. That's one thing I think you're seeing, and you saw in Detroit, and Detroit's continuing with Johnny Morton, is he will get the ball to the guys. He's going to move them around. He's going to do something, but Odunze is going to get his touches. He's not going to be out on an island and just have to fight off a DB. And so I think he's going to have a good game against these Raiders.
Yeah. With the advent of Luther Burden actually getting deep last week, I think that Rome Odunze will actually have more room to operate. He actually out-targeted DJ Moore, so he certainly seems to be a flip on that depth chart. Rome Odunze looking like a wide receiver 1, so I love that. My pick for wide receiver that I think will pop as the Panthers, Tetairoa McMillan, who this rookie is impressive. He's absolutely impressive. He gets to play your Patriots this weekend, Ryan. And guess what? Your Patriots allow the 4th most receiving yards per game at 272, the 4th most yards per reception, 11.9, and the 8th most receiving touchdowns of any team in the NFL. So I think McMillan has an opportunity there to make some noise. And he's averaged in those first 3 weeks a whopping team-leading 9 targets per game and over 70 yards per game during that time frame. Bryce Young really likes him. He's obviously looking like a wide receiver 1 out there in Carolina. So he does have a calf injury that limited his participation in practice on Thursday, but that should be good to go. As long as he's ready to play, I think that McMillan has a chance to pop this week against the New England Patriots. All right, let's go to tight end. Ryan, what's your tight end that you think is going to pop this week?
2 notes. First of all, no one told Hakoum that apparently no one told you that Gonzo's back this week. So good luck to Ted. And been facing a lot of scrutiny in the media here locally. So if anybody's ready to go make a statement this weekend, it should be him with the questions of why he sat out for 8 weeks with a hamstring issue.
Right.
However, I did have one other honorable mention because I was going to go Tet, and that's why I panicked and went with somebody in my top 5 I wasn't thinking. But let me Tyquan Thornton for Chiefs, by the way.
I love that. Yeah. He had a great performance last week. They looked like, it's fantastic.
But on my tight end, this is a guy I've been on since the preseason when I was doing draft work. A huge fan of his. His targets have gone down each week. However, his snap count and usage have remained. And I think he puts it all together this week against Scott's Lions. I'm taking Harold Fannin for a big breakout performance.
Yeah.
Lions against tight ends this year, albeit a little bit skewed because of that week 1 performance, but they've allowed 16 catches on 20 targets for over 50 yards per game and a touchdown so far. So the tight ends can produce against that Browns defense. Fannin is an elusive playmaker with the ball in his hands, so I feel like they might try to find some ways to get him the ball quickly over the middle to make some plays. So I have Harold Fannin for breakout, who has been good when he's been targeted. I have to go back and look. I'm pretty sure. I think he might be perfect on his targets to receptions. But again, I have to go back and double check that now that I just said that. But either way, he's been really he's been good this year. I think that this is an opportunity for him to have a breakout game. Like I said, I try to go deep cuts. So Harold Fannin.
I love that. I don't even think that's too much of a deep cut. I mean, the Browns, what's interesting about the Browns is that they have not been good. And obviously the jury's out. We don't know what's going to happen at quarterback in terms of whether they made the right decision on their 2 rookies there. But all the other rookies have been amazing. You know, Quinshon Judkins really has gotten into his own. Harold Fannin, obviously very, very impactful right there. So certainly they've hit some pay dirt in terms of their draft this year. So I love that pick. What do you got here, Scott, in terms of tight end that's going to pop this weekend? It's not in your top 5 power rankings.
Yeah, I'll just qualify the Lions tight end situation. I benched Mark Andrews, and so that's the only reaon why he did so well. It wasn't because he played Detroit.
Can you give me your lineup so I can make sure to avoid it? And
I traded and benched more points than I scored this week, so I'm very, very, very salty.
Nice.
Yeah, so I'm going to go with probably the only guy left to catch the ball in Dallas is Jake Ferguson, right? So
okay,
Dallas is going to trail. Green Bay's going to get ahead. Dak's going to be running for his life with Micah Parsons chasing him around, extraordinarily pissed off to be back in Dallas. And so I think Ferguson's going to get, 35 targets and average 0.5 yards a catch. But he's the only thing left there to go. And I think he's just going to be, the dump off. Or he's going to be staying in and blocking all night and get 0 points. Either way.
So one of the two.
I think he'll be one of the two things will happen. He's either going to get I think he's going to get a ton of targets, and it's going to be a bunch of dump offs.
Yeah, I can see that happening for sure as the Packers defense come after him. All right, so I got the worst team in the NFL that we all agree on, the Saints. I have their tight end, Juwan Johnson, as my guy who might jump off the page this week against the Buffalo Bills. Why is that? It's because Johnson has been the one bright spot there in New Orleans. I mean, he's had a very strong start to the season. He's averaging over his first 3 weeks, 6.3 receptions on a whopping 9.3 targets per game for 58.7 yards. And he got a touchdown in week 2. So I think there is some touchdown upside there for Juwan Johnson. And what's interesting is that we obviously know the Saints are going to be playing from behind almost instantly, right? I mean, they put themselves in a ridiculous hole against the Seahawks. They're going to be instantly behind the Bills. It's not even going to be a contest. But the Bills have allowed the 4th most receiving yards to opposing tight ends this season. So Johnson has a great opportunity here to shine. And I think that's going to be the focal point. I think that's what's going to end up happening. There's going to be a lot more Juwan Johnson as long as Spencer Rattler's behind center and they don't decide to make a change at some point. And I think he's going to go off against the Bills because he'll have plenty of opportunity as they play from behind, probably from the first minute of that game. All right, that brings us to the end of the show. Let's hit the air horn on the show. All right, Ryan, give us your social media so people can follow you.
Yeah, you can follow me at Ryan Whitfield NE. And I do apologize to my many fans out there. I did not get my picks in time this week for us. But as you know, when I do put the picks in, the picks are in, but not for you to the article. But as everyone should know at this point, I've only got 9 games wrong through 3 weeks. So I am the person here to be listening to. So you're welcome.
You can still get your picks in, Ryan. Come on, man. It's only 6:45.
I haven't had dinner yet. Can I eat? Am I allowed to eat?
Priorities, man. Priorities. All right. Scott, what do you got? Give us your social media so people can follow you.
Yeah, hit me up, NFL Fantasy _more. I've got my partnership with Underdog going this season, and so every week I'm posting those plays. Had a good streak, got some bonuses and benefits there if you use my promo code. So check us out, and hopefully I do better. I'm doing better betting games than fantasy right now, but we'll take it.
As long as you're not misleading the followers, you're in good shape, man. Just start posting all your lineups and we'll know what to avoid. That's how it'll work too. Sure. All right. You can find me on X/Twitter or at Blue Sky at FB Garbage Time. You can find me at the Football Garbage Time page on Facebook. As usual, thank you for listening and wasting time with us. And until next time, enjoy your NFL week.
Congrats to everyone who didn't get knocked out week 3 in their survival pools.
You just had to take the last shot, didn't you? I'm going to remove you from this podcast right here. Here we go. Here he goes. He's gone. I'm just kidding, of course. Thanks, everybody.
I got around the horn. Wow.